Daq stood in front of the mirror, examining his choice of pigments for the meeting. The yellow-grey of his skin melded into a pale green, while the thin wisps of violet stripes that trailed from his torso to his rear leg shifted to a dazzling neon yellow. An instinctual part of him shuddered, that part of him knowing his colours no longer matched any of the terrain of his home world. He silenced that part of him. It had been a long time since his species had needed camouflage to survive. The thought reminded him of why his task today was important. When my people were incorporated into the Outer Species Alliance, we had applied as an active contributor as well. We had thought that our natural camouflage and silent communication would allow us to apply as special forces for the infiltration and espionage program. He paused. The application was well outside living memory, but still, recounting the humbling of your species was not a task he was fond of. When our day to demonstrate our abilities came, we selected our 5 highest performing agents. Their colour palettes allowed them to blend into over 80% of the Alliance's member worlds. They had dulled their leg spines to turn the hard clink of their footsteps to a muted whisper. Pheromone signals allowed them to communicate in minutes what other species would need hours to convey. Daq turned to the 5 representatives the new applicants sent. But during the demonstrations, we were denied any hope we had of being active contributors. The Mostet's clear skin let them blend into 97% of planets. Their padded feet made them perpetually silent with no effort at all. And with partial telepathy, they could communicate what takes us minutes and seconds. He paused to try to read the applicant's emotions. His visor, which so helpfully translated the pheromones he secreted into vibrations the applicants could understand, could not help him here. And so we were denied our desired status in the Pact, and were instead accepted as beneficiaries. We were not allowed to send military aid or personnel to Alliance members under attack, but were instead asked to pay a large percentage of our meagre economic product to ensure our safety. Ultimately, it was still a great benefit to our species. Our economy survives and we are protected from danger. He noticed one of the applicants' mouths moving before his antenna picked up the scent. The applicants wore a thick metal collar which tried its very hardest to translate the vibrations of whomever wore it into familiar scents. "If you're gonna say something, spit it out," the applicant with the thick lower limbs growled. "What I'm trying to say is that you humans have the gift of hindsight with you. We've advised again and again that you not apply as active members, but take the advantage of being an unknown species and apply as beneficiaries. The Council is very likely to ask for a much lower percentage of your economy if you act with humility." The next part stung him to say. Daq honestly quite liked the squishy bipeds. Humans rank in the bottom 90th percentile of every combat specialty you've applied for. The Mostet are quieter, the Hatley are faster, the Stet are stronger. His antenna would have betrayed his frustration if the humans could have understood what their drooping meant. Through their translators, he would be coming off as an impassionate monotone. The thick-legged one spoke up again. "Listen, Daq." He stepped in front of his fellow applicants. "We know the risks. You told us too many times about how the average human just isn't capable of competing with other species, and every time you tell us, we've given the same. Yes, Daq had been given the response before. Yes, I know you're not the average humans, but it doesn't matter. Even if you were twice as fast as your average, how could you hope to outpace the Hatley? At a sprint, they move at 29 miles per hour. That's well over triple." Big Leg spoke up again. "I can run 32. Daq knew that he must have smelled wrong, but before he could think to run a check on his translator, one of the other applicants, the one with the wide torso, interrupted. "I can lift just over 1,000. Unless all of Daq's research in humans had been some strange attempt at international espionage, this group of humans were lying to him. The average speed of a human at a run is just over 8 miles per hour, and yet this one was saying it could run at 3 times that speed, while the other claimed that it could lift 6 times the average. Slight variations in maximum capabilities are common among species. The representatives the Stet sent could lift about 20 pounds over the average Stet, but to imply that any member of a species could just decide to sextuple the average was insanity." Big Leg's face twisted into what seemed to snarl for a moment, but then bent down and placed one knee behind him and the other in front. Daq went to question the human. At first he thought maybe Big Legs had suddenly realized how going 3 times the average speed of your species was an unbelievable lie. But before Daq could even begin to accept the apology, the center of the word, "go," crossed his antenna. The human's leg muscles flexed, as his frontmost leg rocketed backwards, while his rear leg jolted forwards. Its dressing seemed like it would tear as his legs shot far out in front of it. Daq prepared to be hit. He assumed that he must have caused a great offense by calling the human's bluff, but no impact came. Instead, the human rocketed across the room where they had been standing. The room was big, but not so big that the humans could have gotten to full speed, but still, it was fast. Very fast. He couldn't tell if the human was faster than a Hatley, but that was the thing. He couldn't quite tell. If the rest of the humans were anything like big legs, then all of his assumptions about the capabilities of humans were entirely wrong. This single human was on par, if not exceeding, a Hatley, the fastest race in the Alliance. As the human reached the end of the room, it stuck out one of its legs. A screech permeated the air as the human's foot coverings fought with the friction to stop his momentum. The human stood up, beads of salty water starting to form on his forehead. "We're not the average humans," he fawned what Daq realized now as a grin. "We're Olympians."